theme, and On the Road is a great theme. It's also a great book by Jack Kerouac. And I thankfully have a lot of experience being on the road, especially ever since I've been with Benjamin. It seems like every few months we're back on the road, even if only to Pennsylvania. So I had to rack my brain, not very hard, to come up with some story. And I thought about telling one about our epic 6-week road trip, or maybe one about our road trip last winter to Florida. But I decided I wanted to tell one that actually occurred while we were hiking the Appalachian Trail. Most of you here know that Benjamin and I thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail, and we always say it took us 5.5 months. And that's not entirely true, because the hiking itself took us 5 months. But there were 2 weeks in there where we weren't hiking, we were hitchhiking. And it was, in itself, an incredible journey. It is incredible to discover how much energy it takes to hitchhike. I thought hiking 18 miles a day was difficult, but then I hitchhiked and realized, no, hitchhiking 60 miles a day, or sometimes 5 miles a day, is almost more tedious. And the story I wanted to really focus on happened in Maine, because Benjamin and I, we did a thing called flip-flopping on the trail. So we started down in Georgia, we hiked to Pennsylvania. From there, we hitchhiked up to Maine, and then we hiked back down to Pennsylvania. The hitchhiking took about 2 weeks. And while we were hitchhiking, in Maine especially, we met some crazy individuals. There was a limo driver who picked us up and let us ride in his limo for a good 10 miles. That was the most fun 5 minutes I've had, especially since we were still stinky hikers in the back of an empty limo. There was a man who, when it was raining out one day, guaranteed he could get us from the exit we were at all the way to Mount Katahdin. He swore that he could get us there. Trouble was, he worked for the highway. So he had to stop every 1/10 of a mile to get out and weed whack. So while he would get out and weed whack, he decided to put on his favorite CD, which was a CD of Bible stories. He wasn't even in the truck to listen to the Bible stories. So eventually Benjamin and I ditched that ride. It was the next day when we were trying as hard as we could to get that last 50 miles to a place called Millinocket, which is very close to Baxter State Park, which is where we were trying to get for our southern trek on the AT. Well, while we're out there one morning, hands out, we're waiting. We have people coming up to us, promising they'll come back to us. Hours later, they're still not there, so we're starting to get very discouraged. When all of a sudden, some guy in a blue Ford SUV pulls up. For sake of anonymity, we'll call him Scott. And Scott was a sous chef at I believe it was what kind of home was that?
A country club.
A country club, that's what it was, a country club, yes. At a country club, and this was his day off. So he was excited. He could not wait to pick us up and tell us all about his day. He took us about 15 miles, which when you're hitchhiking, that's a big deal. 15 miles, okay, now we only have 35 more to go. He didn't want to drop us off at the exit ramp, even though that's where we're going to get our ride. He took us about 2 miles in and dropped us off at some dumpy gas station. But we thanked him anyways, got out, went into the gas station, looked around, decided we didn't want anything to eat, filled up our water bottles, and went to sit down at the picnic tables at this dumpy gas station, talking to each other about whether we should go back to the exit ramp and try again, because it was about 4 p.m., so there was time to maybe get a couple more rides, or whether we should just find a place to crash for the night. Well, all of a sudden, that blue Ford SUV comes reeling into the parking lot, slams on his brakes. Here comes Scott out, and he says, "Hey, it's your lucky day. I tell you what, I'm in such a good mood. I'm going to take you guys to my house. We're going to eat some food. We're going to drink some beer. I was golfing today, so I got some green, if you know what I mean. So we're going to have a good time." Well, we were accustomed at that point to trail magic, so we decided, hell yes, we're going to do this. This is going to be an incredible night. We're going to go, we're going to party, we're going to hang out, and the next day we're going to get to Mount Katahdin because Scott promised he was going to take us to Mount Katahdin the next day. Well, we get to his house. He makes us some food. We hang out. We're having a great time, playing ping pong, drinking all sorts of beers. He's talking about Millinocket with his funny accent. He's telling us all about Mount Katahdin and Knife's Edge and how we have to hike that even though it's not part of the Appalachian Trail. And the time keeps going, and it's about 11 p.m. And we're getting tired. It's about time for us to go to bed. When we notice Scott has stopped talking to us and is looking at his phone. Okay, nothing out of the ordinary. Maybe he's talking to his girlfriend or something. And then he looks up and says, "All right, boys, what you doing tonight?" Benji and I looked at each other blankly. We thought we were staying at your place. Oh, no, you can't stay here. My roommate's coming back. He was at a concert. He's going to be back in like 10 minutes, so I got to get you out of here. All right, it's 11 p.m. I'm not sure where we can go. Well, you know what? I got a place. That gas station, there's a great stealth camping site right at the hill behind it. You can stay there. Well, Benji and I didn't want to be rude, even though both of us were practically pleading with our eyeballs, trying to be like, "Please, let us stay at your house. I thought that's why you took us here." But it didn't work. He had us climb in the car, took us back to the dumpy little gas station, dumped us out. And now it's 11:15 at night, pitch black, nobody's in the gas station, and we have to sneak down behind this station to try and find a stealth site. There was really nothing good because it was literally a hill down to a creek. There was nowhere we could camp. But we did it anyways. We were probably at an angle, and I'm pretty sure I rolled right on top of Benji that night. We made it work. But what we really learned from Scott was that hospitality, it does have limitations. And you just never know who you're going to meet when you're on the road. Now,